New Zealand's going in the right direction, and this campaign is all about whether we can continue with that and the benefits that come from a strong economy and well-managed government finances. We can put cash in people's pockets. We've already legislated to do that on the 1st of April, $20 a week for people on the average wage, $26 on average for 1.3 million New Zealanders. And that's just recognising their hard work, enabling them to keep a bit more from what they earn, make their own choices, rather than government, as our opponents are putting forward, lots of new taxes where they make all the choices for you. And we want to back that up with continuing to invest in the infrastructure, roads and houses that we're going to need, because New Zealand's going through a growth phase. That growth can continue if we stick with the policies that support it.
Prime Minister, there is an allegation, or rather a number of them, by your opponents that you're dishing out money because you're running scared of the opposition gaining ground. How far is this true, or was it already planned and you're just pushing out the policies now? A lot of spend that you've committed.
We're a busy government, and now that we have sustainable government surpluses, these are the kinds of things you can do. You can get more projects like Waterview in Auckland. We can build 4 lanes from Napier to Hastings because Hawke's Bay is now growing. We can roll out broadband that helps our productivity now to some of the smallest towns in New Zealand. We can recruit more police, an extra 1,000, and we can help those with the lowest incomes and the highest rents, and more children buy with bigger payments to help them with their housing costs. Free GP visits now, or $18 GP visits for every superannuitant who earns less than $4,000 of their own income. We've been moving in this direction since the economy recovered back in 2010-11. What people are seeing now are the benefits of good economic management, and we're very happy to be setting that out in an election campaign so people know what's going to happen if National is re-elected for the next 3 years.
Prime Minister, you have committed a lot of money for various sectors. From where do you think the money will come? Because obviously the surpluses aren't going to be enough to fund many of the ambitious schemes that you have announced in the past few weeks. So would it mean more taxes? How would you fund the enormously beneficial schemes that you've announced?
Well, they are going to be funded from our surpluses and the roading projects from the National Land Transport Fund. And I think that's the point of the plan. We can provide these benefits, build these projects, and give people moderately lower taxes because we know how to manage well. So that's how it's going to be paid for. We're going to keep decreasing debt, unlike our opponents who are going to be raising debt by 10 or 11 billion. You know, we borrowed quite a lot of money when times were tough. That kept the economy going, but now times are good. We can pay back the debt, we can put some cash back in the families' pockets, we can help those who are more disadvantaged, and we can build the projects that support ongoing growth of the economy. We can do that within the budget we have.
So you don't reckon you have to borrow more?
No, we won't be.
Prime Minister, 3 weeks into the election, are you now feeling the heat?
We're feeling pretty confident because with a competitive election, people now can see they have to make a choice. And that is going to work for National because we've got a pretty clear plan to build on the success of New Zealand over the next 3 years. Our opposition, I think, certainly got some attention when they changed the leader, but are having a bit of trouble following through on laying out clear plans other than the plan to collect 3 or 4 more taxes. About a new tax every week seem to be announced.
So do you think incumbency for National is an advantage this time?
We have to earn every vote. We have to earn it off the back of our plan for New Zealand, our commitment to it, and voters seeing that that's a better choice than the opposition. You know, when you've been in government, people will often say whatever problems are caused by the current government. Look, that's part of the debate. So we're not campaigning as an incumbent, really. We're campaigning as a team who want to take New Zealand forward, who want to help lift family incomes, support businesses, have a safe community, maintain standards in our schools. Voters are now going to be able to see that plan and decide how they want to support it.
No doubt, Prime Minister, the National has an impressive record the last 9 years, and that alone should give you good tracking. But some of the side issues that are coming up, how damaging do you think they would be into your campaign? In Winston Peters saga, for instance.
Look, I think voters are quite capable of sorting out what makes a difference to them and what doesn't. We've dealt with this most recent issue. In fact, ministers have behaved very professionally through that. Voters are going to be deciding on direction for the country and impact of political parties' different plans on their incomes, and that's pretty straightforward. Under National, their incomes will be supporting a lift in their incomes through lower taxes. Under Labor, they'll be pushing down incomes because they're going to impose more taxes.
So once National comes back, if you're re-elected to the fourth term, what would be the 3 most important things that you would do in the first 100 days of the fourth term?
In our first 100 days, we will be pushing on with the roading projects that we've announced. We'll be making sure that the 200,000 houses that are planned to be built can be approved and agreed without blockages and with support from our councils. And we'll be working on our plans to implement the legislation we've put in to raise incomes by reducing taxes and increasing payments for children and for housing costs.
From an international perspective, Prime Minister, where would your direction be in terms of, for instance, the troubled Pacific Partnership deal? Would you revisit that, as it were? How would you move from an international perspective?
Well, trade is vital to New Zealand, it's vital to jobs here, particularly in our regions. And every time we've opened the door into another new market, our exporters have taken that opportunity. We've now got a whole range of trade negotiations to enable us to get access to the European market, or better access to Japan. These are the 3rd and 4th largest consumer markets in the world. We want to be there, as well as our update with China, which again continues to grow at a rapid pace. So if we push ahead with that trade agenda, that helps define New Zealand's place in the world as a credible economy with a good set of relationships. The shadow hanging over all of that, of course, is North Korea and the escalation of this tension. Now, we use the influence we can. It's not large, but it's important to encourage the US, China in particular, and Russia to work together to bring this tension to an end, and do so by diplomatic means. And we will also work alongside Australia. I talked to the Australian Prime Minister just this week because, as a bigger country, they have a more direct connection to the main players.
So would you commit more troops to places where you're asked to do as an ally of, or a dear friend of the United States?
We consider any request on its merits. There's been no indication that there would be requests for troops relating to the North Korean escalation of tension. We have responded recently to a request from NATO for some non-combat personnel to go to Afghanistan to assist with what's now been a long-running presence of New Zealand in Afghanistan to help settle that country.
Okay. Coming back to New Zealand for a moment before we close, Prime Minister, the working families package, there seems to be some enhancement, but how would you consider working that against bringing more people into employment? There's a charge that there are 90,000 people employed and you want to have more immigration. How does that work? How does this chemistry work?
This economy is generating thousands of jobs, 180,000 in the last couple of years. And we need migrants to come and do a lot of the work that needs to be done. To get 200,000 houses built, we are going to need more than the skills we've got in New Zealand. Now, there's young people for whom this is the best opportunity in a generation to get into work, but some of them need support. So we're dealing with a group of about 4,000 where they get individual support to try and help them get some educational qualifications and pastoral support to get them into work. We've got another group of about 40,000, about 3/4 of whom come from households that have been on benefits, and we're supporting them individually with case management, because it's important for each one of those young people that we can get them an opportunity. You know, they need to, we'll give them support. What we expect from them is responsibility and accountability and some stickability, so that when they get into a job, they can stay there.
So when you mean more migration, do you mean on temporary basis until the projects are complete, or you mean permanent residence for these people?
We've always had a mix of temporary and permanent. So yes, some come here on a temporary basis. That's the basis on which they apply. They do work here, and when their visa comes to an end, they go home. That's long been part of our labour force here. And then we've seen a bit of an increase in the numbers who come here as skilled migrants.
Right.
And we need them as well, because the IT industry, for instance, will shift to other countries if we don't bring the people here.
Your final election pitch, Prime Minister.
Look, finally, it's a pretty basic choice. New Zealand's going in the right direction. If we pursue the stronger economy, then we can share the benefits of it, including putting cash in the pockets of families, moderate taxes, supporting our businesses, holding our education standards, a safe community. Or you could choose the other group of opposition parties who've got confused policies, want to raise more tax, and don't really have confidence in the success that New Zealand could achieve if we just keep going.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for your time.